Remember these things? Newspapers have lots of great articles, but I stopped reading them in favour of websites and because I stopped getting them delivered by the local paper shop. But I bet if you get a free newspaper pushed through your letterbox, you'll pick it up and at least read the headline and maybe flick through some pages. Now, imagine you can do the same with your website, getting the great content you're producing into people's inboxes for free. Well, I'm about to show you how. In this video, I'm going to create a simple website with a blog, a newsletter, and a basic homepage with plenty of places for people to subscribe to your content. I'll be covering how to make a new page with a newsletter subscribe form and the previous issues listed below, how to separate your blog and newsletter if you want to, how to automatically add additional subscribe forms to your theme, how to add subscribe blocks anywhere else to your content using the block editor, ways to tweak the styles of your subscribe form and reuse them through patterns, what other options are available to prompt people to subscribe, and how to decide which content gets sent out to your subscribers. Let's dive in. So I'm going to be adding a newsletter functionality to this WordPress website, which I've put together. It's a very straightforward landing page with a blog. The first thing we do is we go to Jetpack, we go to settings, and then the newsletter, and then you toggle on let visitors subscribe to this site. So once that's toggled on, you can start using the subscribe forms. So I'm going to start off by creating a new page and having a subscribe form with the previous issues of the newsletter below. So we go ahead, we go new page, landing page, a specific landing page. I'm going to do it as a new template. So I'm going to create a new template and call it newsletter landing page. So what this does, it lets me completely control what's going on with this page, and I'm just going to be bold. I'm going to just delete everything, and I'm going to do it with a cover. So I'm going to do a cover block. I'm going to use a background, so I'm going to have a nice strong background, so I can change that to a header. So I want it to be a header. I want it to be heading 1. There we go. So this is a very high level, just adding a bit more information. So we've got this. I'm going to make it extra large. I'm going to change the typography a little bit as well. So this, I'm going to put it as Inter, and I'm going to make it bold. Adding your subscribe form. So you can do this in 2 ways. So you see I just did a / and it comes up as subscribe. Or I can click the little block inserter here, and if I search newsletter, you'll see it pops up. So this is a way of getting the form straight in there. And I can do various different settings. So I can change the button label, I can change the placeholder, I can decide to put the button on a new line if I want, I can show subscriber count. So this is starting to take shape. So what I want to do now is show the prior issues below. So, and the way to do this is, again, I'm going to do a group because I want to control the width a little bit. So I can do group, I can say content, I actually want this group to be 900 wide. And I'm going to put the query loop in there. And I'm going to save myself a bit of time, I'm just going to choose one of the layouts, probably this one. And you see here that it's brought in the whole query loop. So it's brought in articles that I posted on the newsletter, articles that are posted as articles. So if you want to separate your blog and your newsletter, you can do that by writing in different categories and displaying it this way. What I'll do here is I'll go to the query loop, and then I'll untoggle inherit query from template. And what this lets me do is add some filters down here. So I can go down here and filter via the newsletter category, and then that has brought in posts from the newsletter. So again, if I update this and jump back to the landing page, you see it's brought in past issues. And I've done exactly the same thing here for the blog. So I'm writing on the blog and I've separated it from the newsletter just via the same query loop trick. Once you've created the landing page for the newsletter, you can add it to the navigation menu, and then you want to be now thinking about where else can you add subscribe forms. So if we go back to the Jetpack settings, you'll see there's a number of options. So I can add a subscribe block to the end of each post. So I'll choose to do that. And I will also add the subscribe block to the navigation, which I can also do that there. And for each of these, you can preview and edit what those blocks look like. So I've toggled on those two toggles, and if I go back to my landing page, you can see it's now added a subscribe button at the top. And if I go and have a look at the blog and I read down, it's also added a subscribe form at the bottom of the blog post as well. So I've not needed to go in, I don't need to go into all old blog posts and edit it. But let's say we wanted to have a block that we can reuse. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to jump to the home page because I'd quite like to have it here. And again, I'm going to quickly build myself a new group. I'm going to pop in there. I'm going to pop in a header. Weekly music news to your inbox. Send to that. Add in the same subscribe block as before. And you see, because I've done this in a group, I can now go in and I can start to modify it a little bit. So I'm going to put the same background as earlier. I'm going to again make it a bit brighter. I'm going to go to padding as well. I'm going to give it a bit more padding. And then I'm also going to give it a bit of a radius. So maybe a 50px radius. The usual tweaks to the text. So I'm going to again tweak it. I'm going to say font family into, so weekly music news to your inbox. And then again on this group, I'm going to make it a little bit wider. So now that I've made this group, so I can see here, this is my group. I can click on the options and I can say create a pattern, newsletter, fancy box. So I'm just going to save that as a pattern. So let's say I'm now editing an old blog post and I think actually I'd quite like a bit of a mid sign up here. So I could put a subscribe form and start styling it. Or I can go here and go patterns, my patterns, and I can add that box that I had before. And now the final thing to look at is how do you choose which content gets sent as a newsletter. So you're ready to publish, you hit publish, then you can choose whether it sends as a post, whether you do a post and an email, or whether it's just a post. So you say post an email in the newsletter category, publish, and that will get sent as an email. Once you've started growing your subscribers, there's loads more you can do, such as starting a paid subscription and letting people subscribe to different categories of your content. We've lots of great things coming in the newsletter product, so if you want to learn more, please do subscribe to this channel and leave a comment below. If you've nothing to say, drop an emoji, for engagement. And I'll see you in the next one.